how to balance yourselves. My sensei used to tell me, you know what, if you spend all day, if you had thought of these things as on a scale, mind, body, spirit, and you were in the library all day studying, using your intellect, but you had no physical activity, your scale's completely out of balance.
So, like I said, this is a work in progress for me. And this is, some of the work that Ron and I are doing as it relates to the mental training, the mental side of baseball. I'm just beginning to apply. I'm just beginning to scratch the surface. When I was 17 or so, my dad said, if you spend as much time on your mental training as you do on your physical training, you'd be a much better baseball player. Yeah, like, whatever, Dad. And this is my dad who would meditate for an hour, hour and a half every day. What is this guy doing? That was my thought process. Now, I realize, why didn't I just listen to the guy? Because now I'm starting to figure out in my 30s that this stuff really applies, and it works for an athlete. If you eat perfectly, but you don't train your mind, you're not in balance. If you train your mind, but you don't eat well, you're not in balance. If you don't train physically, you're not in balance. This is a journey for all of us to get to a place where we're doing everything enough. And, if we're really good at something, great. Like if you could be, really close to, I don't want to say perfect, it's the wrong terminology with food. But if you could get really good at nutrition and really good at mental training and really good at physical training, bro, you put yourself in a position to have success. You can now throw the dice out there, and wherever they land, you can put your head on the pillow. You just don't want to be in a situation where 5 to 10 years from now, you're like, just would have ate a little bit better. I just would have put some effort into my mental training. You know what? I know I was better than I was then. Too late.
So real quickly on the topic of balance then, we have the law of balance, which is also moves the law of attraction. The law of balance. The law of balance states that the harmonious movement of energy is achieved through balance. Think about nature. Think about life. Everything is always moving. Am I standing still right now, or am I moving?
You're moving.
It looks like I'm standing still. Am I on balance?
Yes.
Physically, maybe. You don't know what's going on in here, because I know what time it is. But we've got cells, and I've got cells and atoms and things going on moving. The chair beneath you is actually moving. There's subatomic particles and things moving and vibrating and holding everything in place, right? There's always movement. Think about nature. It's constantly balancing itself and rebalancing itself. The whole ecosystem is based off of that, right? Now, if I walk from point A to point B, from where I am today to my future, in walking, let me ask you a question. Am I on balance or off?
Seems like you're on.
Both. Because in order to move, I must off-balance myself. A walk is a continual forward lean. That's what a walk is. And if I don't catch myself, I will fall. So in the martial arts, we look at the center. I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner. Jiu-jitsu is the mother martial art. It has everything involved. Kicking, punching, throwing, ground fighting. But a lot of the throws that we see in judo, a lot of the takedowns, come from jiu-jitsu. Judo is a derivative of jiu-jitsu. So we look at the center of balance. Now, this triangle right here that you're seeing is my base, and this is my center. Your center is about 2 to 3 inches below your belly button. Others of you, practitioners in different forms, meditation, yoga, on those types of forms where you're breathing into your center, you know about this, right? It's the same spot. In fact, different modalities talk about the center, your center, breathing into your center. And we do too in the martial arts. This is your center. Now, if you want to toss somebody, if you want to throw them, take them down, you must move this center out of this triangle here. So if I'm fighting, that person, the other fighter, is going to form a base. They're going to connect with the ground and make themselves heavy. And my objective then would be to get this center outside of that triangle here. So I've got some play. I can move here and still remain on balance. So we can do this movement. But if I get too far outside of that triangle, I will fall. My objective in throwing somebody is to get that center outside of that triangle so that they fall easily. Okay? But life is very, very much the same way. As you're moving from point A to point B, you're going to be off balance a little bit. You need to expect that. But you don't want to get so far outside of balance that you fall. These energy centers can pull you out of that balance. They can continue to tug and pull on this center. So you're using your intellect and your emotions, but you're not using your body. You're not working out. Perhaps you're eating too much. You're gaining weight. It's stressing you out. So emotionally, it's starting to deplete your energy. And you're creating stuff and you're excited about it, but you're not paying attention to your body. And sooner or later, it just keeps tugging and tugging and tugging until you're so far out of balance that you crash. In the example I just used, we might call that you get a diagnosis. So we want to bring it back into center. It's very, very important that we know about balance and understand that you're constantly balancing and rebalancing, and you're constantly moving. How many of you, if you want to move from point A to point B, how many of you have found yourself moving, trying to catch your balance, trying to get to where you want to go, and falling sometimes, and having to get back up? Okay, now, the question is then, what causes you to be out of balance? What causes you? Not me, you. What causes you to be out of balance? Just think for a minute. Go back to your self-awareness. What causes you to be out of balance and therefore what we might call disharmonious, out of a state of harmony?